Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Who have we got on the radio today,
We've
Robert?
got the boss, the man who writes out our big cheques each week to make sure this show hits the airwaves. Leo Renkin, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Neil. How are we?
We are very, very well indeed at this end, and I can only... No, well, actually, Rob's a bit dodgy, but that's okay. We can only assume and hope that you are the same.
I am. I'm just got the map out and I'm checking whether we are east or west of the Mississippi.
Well, I think given where the Mississippi is, it's a 50-50 depending upon which way you go.
It's a very good point. Now, Leo, we thought we'd get you on to have a year that was, where we're up to, what's happening.
And the year that will be.
And the year that will be, yes, on 94.7 The Pulse. You're nearly there. You can take a little bit of a breath soon. How has 2022 been for you?
Well, 2022 has been a very busy year because if you remember this time last year, I think we were all going in to get COVID tests and lining up for rapid antigen tests.
We were.
To be able to purchase them. So I think it's about this time, same as this time last year. So you were either waiting in line for to buy some rapid antigen tests, or you were probably at home isolating with COVID.
Yep.
So it doesn't seem that long ago, does it? But since then, the year has been one hell of a year. We had you know how we have our election debates. We had a federal election this year and a state election, which is pretty rare that they occur at the same time. But I think they're only like 6 months apart, to be honest with you. And so we know how much time and effort goes into those because we do our election broadcasts for all those state and federal and local level ones. But this year we had a bit of a double whammy where we had a state election and a federal election in the same year. We also had, I suppose, we started off with a bit of a on again, off again, and being in the studios and the other studios and so on. So. And we did also start the year, I don't know if Neil and Rob remember, when I got a phone call from someone who lived close by and said there's water coming out of your doorway, a waterfall coming out of your doorway.
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay, this is what usually happens. So I came in to have a look at the waterfall, and sure enough, there were the cascades flowing down out of the roof, and there was a burst pipe in the roof at the Pulse.
Yes,
Burst pipe in the roof. The burst pipe in the roof caused the roof to cave in the reception area there. So we had an enormous amount of time, and there's probably about 3 foot of water in the office, which went and destroyed everything in there. So we had an enormous time where we then had to get all that fixed up, and then lo and behold, halfway through getting fixed up, we got flooded and the roof caved in again. So we had 2 roof caves in the first, I think it was till March, we still hadn't had anything. We still hadn't had reception, and we still had no roof. So we've done pretty well for the first part of this year. So to get to the end of the year and think that we're actually dry after a very wet year in reception there, and that we got through 2 elections, which isn't easy, and we also managed to get back into some kind of regular programming because COVID numbers in the studios, the limits weren't as strong as they were at the start of the year.
We were asked in March 2020 by the station manager at the time if we could put a program together for 3 weeks just until we got through COVID. Today is episode 128 of that 3-week program. Fair to say that it's been a fairly unpredictable couple of years as well.
I would just say it's the gift that keeps on giving.
And by the way, when you said there were cascades flowing, Rob's eyes lit up because he thought that was a brand of beer from Tasmania. And also during
they were putting in for all our dirty-minded presenters.
Now, the other thing that I noticed when I walked in the door today is that Margaret, our op shop person, is wearing a lanyard around her neck that says Diversitat, but I believe that's now superseded.
It is indeed. We are now part of Cultura, which is a combination of Diversitat and Max, Multicultural Aged Care Services. And the new name got launched last year, I think it is, this time last year. They had a launch. I had COVID at the time, so couldn't go. But they had a launch down out on the pier there. And so it's almost been a year So at the moment they're still trading as different entities, and by next year hopefully everything will be under the one umbrella.
Excellent.
Yes, so, yeah.
So we are, smack bang in the middle of the subscriber-thon, or as it says on the card that we're reading from, the subscriber-thon, because the C's missing. Tell us about why it's important for people to subscribe to community radio.
Now, that's a Trivial Pursuit question. How do you spell subscriber-thon?
Well, it's certainly got a C in it, and the version that we're looking at doesn't.
Well, every year we run a subscriber-thon, but every year is new because we spell it differently.
So next year we're up for a subscriber-thon, are we, or a subscriber-thong or something?
I did remember sitting in a meeting once, a CBAA meeting, and people talking about a subscriber-thon, and one of the topics came up about how you correctly spell a subscriber-thon. Apparently there's a dash, an A, and then another dash and a thon in the end.
Well, we're missing one of the dashes as well because it's got subscribe dash a thon. That's okay. So what's involved? Why do people subscribe? What's because they can listen to other radio without subscribing. Why should they join?
Well, the reason I think most people listen to us and want to join up is because we provide the local news. We're the only ones, as I mentioned before when I said about the election debates, we're the only station in Geelong that does all the election debates, live broadcast those, and we actually do a video feed as well this year. And we have the most, I would say, up-to-date news and information about what's going on in and behind the scenes. And we also have what you guys benefit from a lot, which is long-form interviews. Most stations, not only in Geelong, but a lot of commercial stations, I would suggest, only have very short interviews. And I did have a very interesting conversation with one person who told me they spent an hour preparing for an interview on another radio station. When they got on, they had about a minute and a half.
Really? They got the extended version?
Yeah, that's right. And I don't think that's a kind of format that a lot of people, as we call from the not elderly, earthy and educated, mature audiences, appeals. That doesn't really appeal to them. They like to feel and hear the in-depth conversation that you guys do so well each Saturday morning before they would tune into someone who gets 1.5 minutes. And you think about a lot of the guys you interview and a lot of the girls you interview who've had a long, lustrous career or a long life in the field they're in. Trying to cram that into a minute's doesn't make for very good radio.
I think the other thing is too, without wishing to pump up our own tyres, because you're doing a very good job of that for us, is that a couple of the normally on a Saturday morning on the way home in the car, I'll ring our special guest and thank them for being part of, a couple of hacks chatting on the radio down in Geelong. And the one thing we keep getting back, I really loved it. It was great to be able to chat rather than answer questions, and I think that's another thing that we do, but a lot of other people on the station do as well, because they've got the time to get into it.
Yeah, we refer to it as like a lounge chair chat, the old fireside chat sitting thing where people can get a lot more information across, in a, I suppose, in a manner which doesn't cause them to be rushed or they're not trying to push one line out straight away. And I think also the variety that we have at the Pulse, we have 67 different programs weekly, which is a very big job to administrate, all that kind of stuff. But, other than that, we could just become another station which plays, music to someone's taste. But we're trying to cater for everyone because there's a big variety of people in Geelong. And diversity is the variety of life, which is spice or something like that.
Something about the Spice Girls coming in there. And we haven't played them on here for a long time. We must do that at some point.
No. Yes, Rob would be the sporty Spice, would he, and Neil?
That's right, yeah. I'd be posh.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been called a babe a few times, but mainly posh. So, here's your Dorothy Dix that you can come back and just smack through square leg for 4. Why don't you just sell advertising?
Can I go for 6 instead of 4?
Sure you can, yeah.
Well, the issue is community radio. The idea of community radio was brought about because we have commercial radio on one side and we have the government stations on the other. And so there's a lot of things that don't get catered for on both of those stations. And so the things that we try to cater for are all those people who have organisations, for example, AmAble, the one that's just across the road from us, there's been an enormous amount of ones that have been on Rob's program and on like Geelong Mums and all those organisations which do wonderful work in the community. And these are usually people who are volunteers who get out there and help, other people who are in need. And for somehow you don't really sell them as on commercial radio. You'll never hear them because if you're going to sell, if you're constantly selling advertising, these people don't get a look in. And really, they're the pillars of our community, which are holding it all up. And we like to support them, and they like to support us because it's an alternative view of hearing what we can buy and what we can do, and whether we can gamble or whether we can, what all the other things we can do in life, other than help other people.
And this is the value of subscribing because people are generous enough to flick us $50 a year or whatever it is, depending upon the concession and so forth. It means that we don't need to sell advertising. Is that the go?
No, we still sell a small amount of advertising, but we don't want it to be our dominate our airwaves. And a lot of people said to me in the last few years, "Thank God you don't have gambling ads," because whenever I tune into commercial radio, it's all about gambling ads. And that's the last thing we'd be trying to promote, something like that at the Pulse. But for us, it's about trying to find a bit of a balance in there. But mainly, we don't want to be, community radio station can't have more than 5 minutes of announcements, 5 minutes of sponsorship announcements in an hour, and that's part of our licence. Whereas a commercial station, you can have as many as you want.
And so, boy, do they.
do they. I don't think, like, for example, when I listen to something, everything's brought to you by, something else and something else and something else and something else, and then after they list all the things it's brought to you by, they might say, 25 degrees.
Yeah. And then they play ads for those people that have been brought to you by.
That's right. Yeah. So Rob's weather reports wouldn't go very far on commercial radio, I'm pretty sure.
Given the quality of the weather he's been delivering in the last week or two, it's not a problem.
That's right. Was Mike Neal with the sunny days you predict.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about, how you present, isn't it?
That's right.
Oh, it's very, very sad indeed. Well, Leo, we thank you for the work you do to keep the doors open. We obviously love what we do, and we do it for that reason, because you're not paying us anything, as much as we should come in and have a chat about that one day, but it is what it is.
And there are a few listeners who have actually texted during this conversation saying, please double what they're getting. I'm not sure whether we can do that negotiation on the air.
Well, the double the zero is a zero, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's very good. We appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. We just come in here and the panel's there and the microphone's there and away we go. And we're very grateful for that. So thank you to you and your team, and best wishes for 2023. And let's hope it's bigger and better. Produced out of 94.7 The Pulse, the heartbeat of Geelong.
We should, Rob. Are you still there?
Yeah, I am.
We're still here.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were getting rid of me.
No.
Before we do go, we should mention the op shop.
Yes, which we've done several times today, and we were about to, but go for it. You go for it as well.
Yes, yeah. The op shop operating, 12 days of Christmas sale. I think we started off with 12 mannequins mannequing. Now, Neil, I'm doing a reference check. Is that an actual word, mannequing?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
So anyway, 12 mannequins mannequing. I think we then went to 11... 11 salt and pepper shakers shaking. And we got a request for, could someone please have the salt and pepper shakers that were in the shape of a pig. And there was 2 sets there, 2 smiling piggies and 2 little piggies. Can we please have those? So there's a big array of those for anyone who's looking for salt and pepper shakers. And then we had 10 handbags hanging, I think it was, and maybe 9 champagne glasses clinking yesterday. I'm not sure what we've got today, but I do know. Is Margie still out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Margie's one of the wonderful volunteers for the op shop, and yesterday all these people kept presenting her with a tea bag strings. And Margie makes these wonderful things. She might have one out there. If she's listening, she'll hold it up to you, where she ties the tea bags together and puts them in with wool and makes scarves and beanies and things like that. Anyway, the enormous amount of tea bags and effort that go into her doing that shows a true, what would you say? I was going to say, to relate it to a sports thing, Jeffrey Boycott batting style, maybe, where you've got to take a lot of time and persistence and make sure you're going to get all your things in right. But I'll get her to show you one when you're out there, and it goes to show the dedication of all volunteers at the Pulse and alongside Margie there at the op shop. all the wonderful things they do in helping reduce, recycle and recreate, which I'm sure you guys do every week.
I was certainly reusing many jokes, I can give you that. Leo Renkin, thank you for taking some time out. Very Merry Christmas to you and the family. And again, as Rob said, thanks for all you do to keep us on the air.
Rightio. Thank you, guys.